Hello.
Hi, Roberto.
Hi, Jacqueline. Great to see you.
It's a pleasure. It's a real pleasure.
Yeah, me too. I'm very excited to do this live with you today. And actually, it has been a long time, no, since we planned.
It has actually.
Yes. Yeah, yeah. And that's the more, no, you have when you have the expectation of, wow, it's going to be super fun. And first of all, I want to thank you finding the time for the commitment and for being here present 100% with me and with the people who is going to connect, which by the way, now we are live. I'm looking now into the video, into the streaming. I'm not going to look anymore with this. I see 35 people already connected. So I want to thank you first. Thank you all for investing 1 hour, more or less, of your time into this conversation. That's the most precious thing we have, and we cannot have it back. So we are going to make the most so that this investment is worth of your time. And if you want to leave any questions in the chat. Now I'm going to close this because of course, I want to be just on the conversation. I want to close everything, and I will have all the questions here. So in more or less half an hour, we're going to watch the chat, see if you have any questions, and interact with you. So we invite you to ask questions to Jacqueline, to me, or whatever, or say hi. And we'll love to see what you have to contribute to the conversation. So it's more dynamic. So, first of all, I would like to tell a little story about how we met in February of last year, 2023. And it was in a meeting of what's called the Fast Track program of the Management 3.0 community, which, by the way, is an amazing community. A big shout out to all the team, to Sarah, who's a brilliant community manager, and we have a lot of fun there. So we met there, and in one of these sessions, Jacqueline mentioned that she could do some laughter yoga session. And we have this joke of the laughter yoga for a few sessions, and then finally, we moved up the session. We said, why don't we start with an icebreaker? 15 minutes of laughter yoga. And it was one of the things that still today I remember most vividly. And I said, oh, how amazing. Just 15 minutes of an exercise, and you can get so much energy, and it's so much contagious, even online. So I reached out and said, hello, Jacqueline, I love that. And then time passed, and finally I could also do one of these laughter yoga in person at our team in the company where I work for. It was like some kind of team building, and it was brilliant. It was amazing experience, and the people had great feedback. So what we also I did is that I posted something here on LinkedIn talking about the experience and thanking you, Jacqueline, for introducing me to that. And then you had the idea, very generous from you, to offer to do a session online with friends, with family, with coworkers, whoever I wanted. And I chose a few coworkers. We organized this again as like, let's say, some community event, and more than 40 people were in the session. We had waiting lists for the session because we could not be so many people. And we had waiting lists. It was like, wow, there was so much, let's say, hype in the good sense, of course. And it's something that we also remember with very
That's cool.
good memories. And so when we chatted again, we said, why don't we do a live conversation and we share more about these things that we love and what we are doing, what our project. And so with this introduction, which is a little bit longer, I know, because the story, I think it was worth, I would love to hear, Jacqueline, what's your story? Because you are not only a facilitator of laughter yoga, you are a change management agent, you are a communicator, you are a coach. What's your story? What brought you to this combination?
I think, well, thanks already for this introduction. Feels like really good. Like, wow, it's all about me. And actually, every time that I do a laughter yoga session, I enjoy it very much myself as well. It really gives me a lot of energy as well. And it's very interesting to see how it well, sparks everyone and how everyone's changed, how the face has changed afterwards, etc. They're much more relaxed. And I've seen quite some different people now that I've been working with for laughter yoga. So yeah, it's really powerful. I know it sounds always very weird, but it is really powerful. My story. So I'm Dutch, and I've always been interested in international. That's always been something for me. And in a way, I think I've always been interested in connections. Not connections like network or whatever, but creating connections between people. And I started my career as international project management. So working through international projects, transverse projects, etc. And quite early, I noticed that people are not speaking to each other. So there's projects that don't succeed because there's no connections, because people do not dare to speak about problems, because people don't dare to speak with the others. It's like when you're on a party, most of the people when they're on a party, they speak only with the people who they know. But it would be so much more fun if you just pick 5 people out of the crowd you don't know and start some discussions with them. There's always out of the box things, and there's always some nice surprises. So I went after my project management to change management. I had a team of 10 people, and I developed the change management processes in a company, and we really tried to open up, to break those silos, to have people come together, and to really work on those elements where very often projects don't succeed. Okay, and that was very interesting because I have really noticed that people in generally, they are motivated. They want to do good things. But then because they don't understand it, they're afraid, there's a lot of things that make them step back and in the end make that project will not succeed. Don't know if you have experienced that as well as, on your side.
Yeah, and I love what you say about that. It's all about the people. And especially perhaps what I hear is from the international project. And then maybe you also have cultural differences and way to speak. You said you're Dutch, I'm Italian, I live in Spain. Then we have different way to relate and to view relationship. And yeah, maybe we even, you mentioned that we also have always good intention, but maybe we don't know how to approach someone. And we fear something, and out of fear, then what happens? The people don't speak, and if you don't speak, things don't happen. And I also love what you say about picking 5 and seeing. It reminds me something of from my coaching perspective, which is to see the people as creative, full of resources, and whole. And when you approach, for example, a conversation from a perspective of what am I going to discover into this person that I have in front of me? What amazing things are there just to be brought to the surface? And this is something that what you said really resonated with me.
Yeah. And like when you said, speaking about international and different cultures, when I went at the end of my studies and I went to the south of France for 1 year, the Erasmus project, I was completely like out of my comfort zone. And it has learned me so much. It has learned me so much because I was so self-assured that this is how things are supposed to be. And I was all alone in the south of France. And actually, it turned out that I didn't understand the language that well. And those people were all having very different ways of living, etc. And I had the chance to meet very nice people who really took me and explained me, etc. And that's where cultural differences really are important. And I still have those friends, for example, French friends, but I also have Scottish friends with whom really got connected. And when you are out of your comfort zone in a cultural way or other, and if you dare to open up, you learn so much yourself and you grow a lot. And I still have a lot to learn, trust me. But I think that's really very interesting because, as you said, you can learn so much from other people. And that's when we really create synergies, etc. So that's really what I like to do in life.
I love the perspective that you have is that of curiosity. It's that it's like I'm in a different environment. I don't know everything. I know my way of seeing the world, and I want to be curious about what's there. And then what happens? I hear that people sees that in you, and then they support you because, as you said, people want to do good things. No one wants to do bad stuff on purpose. It's all miscommunication, all this kind of thing. If you go straight like open book and say, okay, this is my way. I want to hear what's your way. Explain to me.
Yeah.
And then amazing things happen. Yeah.
It does, and like I have three kids, and I try to work in this creative way with them. So sometimes when we are facing something, a problem or something they don't like, I say, okay, how can we solve this? And then I tell them, okay, find me 5 different ways how we can explain this. And I think I really ask them to think out of the box. And I think they now understand that the weirder they get the ideas, the better it is, because we're not necessarily looking for best ideas, okay, or most realistic, because sometimes the way we think is completely different from the way the others think. So we should think out of our own perspective. It's like what Einstein says. I have a big poster of Einstein when he says, if you have a problem and you have 1 hour to solve it, I spent 55 minutes to think about the problem, okay, creativity, etc., and only 5 about the solutions. And I think that's so true, because it's where we think we know it all. We just think of our own perspective. We're not in a creative way. We're just to move. And I know that generally I'm quite a dynamic person, as it seems. But it's also to dare to think and to open to other ways of working, where that sparks your creativity, and you can come up with something sometimes very innovative, but at least something that's different, and it helps.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I love what you say about not jumping to action the first moment. So it's a very human, perhaps I admit that I also do it. I'm very action oriented, so I have, and this is something that I also talk with my coach, and before going to action, you first have to know what you want, what you don't want, who you are, and that's also another way to see the 55 minutes thinking about the problem. I think about the problem, I think about how I want to behave in this situation, and then I act. But we often go in autopilot and like, oh, what happened? And we look back and say, I didn't intend to do this. And one thing that I love that you said about the children, and reminds me of the idea, because I'm also a father of 2, and they teach me so much every day. And one thing that connected with what you said is having fun at work. And I think it's something that is also dear to you. Can you help me a little bit? How do you feel having fun at work?
Yeah, having fun is important, because it's like when you have the electricity, you need to take the wire out. Okay, you stop, and only at that moment can you think of other things.
Mm-hmm.
When I'm always working, and trust me, if my boss is listening, I'm working, don't worry. But I'm more productive if I take sometimes just either can be fresh air, or if I jump or whatever. So yeah, I know I try to make fun at work as well. And part of my work as a consultant is also to provide trainings. And often I say, in the trainings, I want to have fun. I want to play games. And sometimes in the beginning, they look at me like, oh, she's weird. And I said, no, for me, playing games is serious. There's a very famous TED Talk. I don't have the name right now. It's a Sir Andrews or whatever, I don't know. And he is speaking about education. And our whole education system is far too serious. So we're not, as from when kids are small, we teach them to be serious and to listen, etc. I personally have had the chance. I had the education in the Montessori principle, Montessori education. Well, as an Italian, you probably have heard of that. And I've always loved to go to school, because there was always new things I could learn. There's also new things I can test. And so I'm less afraid, and I'd like to have the blank page, because that's where I can create the whole world. And that's also what I want to bring to work. Sometimes we do icebreakers in our teamworks, or I come up with a weird question, and they now know, okay, when Jacqueline, she's dynamic, she's going to maybe to ask a weird question, but okay, it's a safe space.
Yeah.
I'm not there to judge. And that's important when you want people to be, to dare not to be too serious and to do fun. You need to make sure that it's not about judging afterwards. There's this safe space where you can have fun.
Oh.
And afterwards we'll work again.
Yeah, absolutely. And proof is, of course, all the laughter yoga session that we discussed in the beginning. And I 100% agree on that. And what you said about creating a safe space is so important. And And one thing that perhaps sometimes we think that we have to be the manager or the leader of a project to do that. Not necessarily. And I discovered in many ways that we can influence much more our surrounding than what we think. Maybe exactly bring a joke, something, or in the presentation you can put something funny, an image, whatever, and then people start first of all start to see you maybe in another light because they say, okay, you have different facets. You're not just monochromatic. There are a lot of shades of colors and other things, and then also you give them permission to do these things because they see and they see that nothing happens, and it's on the contrary,
Exactly.
you have fun, you bring a smile, and you have an impact on them. So this is absolutely 100%.
I had in the previous job there was a manager and he was kind, no problem, but he was really like having this professional position.
Mm.
And every time when he got stressed, he would not let the stress out. So we at one moment, he when he was really ill, he always wear a pullover with like a neck. I don't know how you call that. So we
Yeah.
at one moment we noticed that okay, he's stressed again, but he would never tell because he needed to be this professional
Yeah.
single color person, and it's a pity because actually only from healthiness, it's not good.
Mhm.
You cannot just always be one very serious poor person. You need to let go. Otherwise, you will collapse at one moment. There's so many people with burnouts. There's so many people also with brownouts because they get bored. And I think that's really a pity. That's what motivated me for change management. That's also what motivated me at one moment to try to be an entrepreneur and to give, like with Precious Prana, different sessions. That's what took me to the laughter yoga. And it's also something that took me other way to a sound healing, because I do sound healing as well with a gong bath. So I have people aligned. So I'm coming in this room like, hey, this is Jacqueline, the dynamic person, but I'm going to relax you. So it's sometimes like, are you sure you're going to relax us? And yes, I managed to relax them because then I can also wind down.
Yeah.
I do my own internal meditation, and then I take them like on a journey, on a sound healing journey. And I will never be just full-time sound healer because I have other friends who do that very good. But it's this mix between like managing to generate dynamics and a spark and to be joyful, and then also to unwind, to say, okay, now we're going to unwind and we're going to relax.
Yes.
And that's really something that's important. And I think in a work environment, it's essential because for the moment we do not see that stress is going to reduce. And even when we do nowadays, we can remote work, there's still the stress. So, and it's important to once again, as I said in the beginning, to keep this connection. And it's only when we manage to be in a good health ourselves, to dare to speak up, to dare to create the connection, to dare to be curious about the other person.
I love it. What you say is like normalize that we have many feelings. We have a range of emotions. We have a range of moods. We cannot be 100% high all the time, and we cannot be 100% serious all the time because it's very boring. So, and also, when you show more of who you are, probably people will trust you, because in the end, what you said is that you all knew that your manager was stressed, and he was holding like much like all constant tension, and you could feel it even through the screen. And maybe he was doing out of good intention. I don't want to pass down
He was,
to my
yeah,
team
he was.
all this stress, all this anxiety. And on the contrary, what you're doing, you're building that. And instead, if you say, you know what, I'm very stressed today. I had a bad day. I had whatever fight with my kid, my dog, my wife, whatever. And they will see, okay, I understand you, and you are human as I am, and let's go. And then when you express that, and this also happens in coaching, when you express an emotion, a difficult emotion, then you see, oh, it wasn't so bad at all. And when you hold it, it's when it gets bigger.
Yeah, exactly. So true. And I really like what you said about the trust, because indeed it is all about trust.
Yeah.
And we're so afraid in a way to trust others, trust life in a way. Um, but it's the trust that will give us strength in a way, and that will make sure that we can advance in a way. So yeah, very important. You mentioned about trust. I very much like that.
Yeah, because at the same time, when you are showing this kind of weakness or vulnerability, let's call it, you are taking a bet and you're exposing yourself. And so, okay, what are they going to say? And you never know what people are going to say. Even if you have a safe space, you never know. Maybe someone will judge you. Maybe someone will understand you. It's just what you can control is how you show up, and you cannot control how the people relate about that. So,
because we never know how was their day,
exactly.
what argument they had indeed, or whatever problem they may have occurred. Because even though it always look very bright on the outside of people, everyone has their own problems, and if we feel indeed that we can speak up about our problems, I think, yeah, it's the trust again that comes back, but it's also that then we can open up and to find a little bit of sparkle that comes in from the like a ray of light in the darkness, and that can do so much good, actually, I think.
And it's the third or fourth time that you mentioned the spark. I'm so curious. Yeah, it's something that looks like it's very important to you. I'm so curious. What's the spark for you? How is it to ignite the spark in the people?
It can be different ways. Indeed, spark is very important for me because I need to feel that people are alive. If people are not alive, I'm like, why are you not feeling alive? Is there something bothering you? And so either I try to create their spark because I like to have them talk, or I tell some silly stories because I'm very good in telling very silly stories. So there's different ways. I want to make them smile because that's how I can build something. I cannot build on something that doesn't breathe. And I always like to build, okay, either build projects or whatever. But to build, I need to have something that's breathing, And so, yeah, for me, the spark is very important because that's either I can build or I can build together with that people. And that's like foundation, I think, in a way.
Yeah, it's like spending 55 minutes in having the people be alive and 5 minutes deciding which action you want to do instead of 55 minutes in debating from a place of boredness or disconnection.
Oh my God, yeah.
Yeah, it's much more powerful, the action that comes from this place than just process-oriented action and all in from the first moment. Yeah, absolutely.
I had 2 weeks ago, I did a laughter session, Yoga Voice, very small group. Actually, were students, and they were going to have to do their test the day after. And so they knew each other, so they were already laughing a lot. But this is cool, I like that. And then one of the guys was really laughing very loud and I was like, okay, it's good, but it sounded nearly a bit too much, So maybe there was a stress underneath, and during the session, made a lot of noise. And then at the end, when I saw his face again after the relaxation part of the laughter yoga, his face changed, and the way his laughter was very different. And so there was a whole other way of spark through him, because he finally managed to, I think, to relax from the stress that he has for the next day of the test. And it was so there was such a calmness in his face. And he said for himself, yeah, actually, I know how different I feel. It's like something else has come to life in a way. And it felt so good. And I was really, and it really marked me a lot, because I was like, well, this guy, he's young, he laughs very easily, but there's a whole other way of laughter coming up. And so that's another way of spark that came through him and that he discovered of himself, actually, I think, as well. That was really nice, because I managed maybe in a way to create him a safe place. And even though he was with friends, etc., yeah, there was this whole different way of how he appeared afterwards. Don't know. I felt it important to share here.
Yeah, and this somehow relates to me with coaching. So you create a safe space, you give the people permission to express who they are, what they want to do without judgment, and you stay there. But what connection do you see into this?
I do. There's a very clear connection because often people, and even though we say we can be multicolors, behind all those colors, there's another layer of a person. There's the real person behind it, who has always lots of hesitations, who has always fears. We all have their fears. I have lots of fears, hesitations, incertitudes. Guess you do have some as well, maybe our listeners as well. But if you create with the coaching, if you manage to create this safe space and the place where this person can just speak, then there's someone really listening to me. And I followed the training with a company called Theresio. I did their bubbles, so they have bubbles, so it's 20-minute bubbles for coaching. And actually you have this list of questions, and on purpose they ask you not to ask more questions, not to intervene. And actually it's this bubble that you create for the person, and it really creates this own place where the person starts to think themselves, and I don't need to guide them. I just ask them notches of questions, and I'm there to listen, because you feel if it's whether it be remote, with or without camera, a person feels if you really listen to them.
Absolutely.
And when you really listen to them and you leave the room for this person to be themselves, there's this whole very enriching process comes up where this person is himself or herself. And that's where you have this whole source of richness actually inside a person. Yes, so I like coaching a lot. I don't do it that much with my consulting, but whenever I have time, I try to at least use those parts of it.
Yeah, absolutely. I love what you say about being seen. It's like we all want to be seen. We want to talk about ourselves. Yeah, of course. It's and there's one quote, from there's a book with for Dale Carnegie, which not to be interesting, be interested, which is, by the way, the book has a title which is How to Influence People, Win Friends and Influence People, which is not perhaps a very good title. It looks like some, I want to
manipulation.
Win friends. Yeah, exactly. But the essence is to see the people, to be curious about the people, and to listen. And everyone wants to explain their story. Everyone wants to discover that they have something in common. And this is beautiful. And absolutely, we can feel when we are being listened to, really. And where we just, okay, check, I have to ask this. How are you? I'm fine. Okay, let's talk. Like, no.
Oh, it's horrible, those discussions.
Yes. Yeah. And I'm curious, all of this, what's the biggest surprise that you have in mixing all these things? We talk about Spark, we talk about coaching, change management. What's the most unexpected things that you discover?
It's a very difficult question because I still feel like I have a long road to take. But it might sound a bit weird, but actually I learned so much about myself from it. I see whole other facets of myself because I was trained to be this perfect woman from a business school, working on optimizing projects and processes, etc. And then maybe it's also about age, but then gradually, as I really connect with people and I see their fears and I have in-depth connections and I learn about their passions and I discover whole other ways. I like, wow. So there's lots of things that I learn about myself, that I don't always need to be the best optimized person, and it's no longer necessary to be perfect, because actually no one's perfect, and I think it's quite annoying if we're just perfect. So I appreciate also the beauty of everything and everything about life actually around it, I think. So it's my own richness that I discover, and with that I appreciate much more the beauty of life. So maybe it sounds very philosophical, but I think that's what it learned to me, because I listen more to people, I am more interested, and so it's this variety of things that maybe I would have never have learned about, and it helps me grow in a way as well.
Yes, it reminds me of what we discussed in the beginning about widening our range. We,
Mm,
in the way we look into other people and we discover things, maybe we see, oh, I want this. And maybe, oh, I already have this. I just didn't know. And I want to express more of this part. And so and this is brilliant what you said, because I feel exactly the same. And perhaps it's no coincidence. When we do coaching or where we are in a deep relation with a
mm,
person and we're interested in what happens and we connect, we see
mm.
something, that person will say, I want that. I love how to have that. And we see that we can, of course, we can take the gift that they give us.
Yeah.
Oh no, this is not me. Why not? We can be organized, we can be professional, we can be caring parents, we can be friends, we can be many things. We can be son, daughter, etc. And all of these are not subtracting from each other.
No, exactly.
We don't give up something just to be professional. We are still professional, and we all have these other kind of things. So,
Mm.
yeah.
And I think it makes life more interesting. I think we have for a long time been educated that we needed to be this or that type of person. But
Yeah.
if we see how many people are unhappy, I think it's important to show that. And in my life as a consultant, one of my key messages is also that I want to share experience that I have with some customers on how we set up things. I want to help other customers grow by sharing those experiences. Of course, with privacy, etc., I don't share confidential information, but for me that is very important as well. Now it's my turn also to help other people grow. And it's only when I have the trust from people that I can learn inside how really things are set up, and that I can use that to help other people grow in a way, I think. And it can be people and it can be companies.
Also reminds me of what you said about the kids, that when we are kids, we can do everything, and kids are always happy. Oh, what happened? Oh, Saki?
Hmm.
Hey, something happened with the connection. My connection just died, but I
You
think we are.
know, mine too. And I don't have kids watching Netflix or whatever. I'm
Oh, okay.
sorry.
So your connection also went away.
Yes.
Okay, this is strange. So probably something related to the platform.
That's
Okay, maybe it's a sign to
mm,
check the chat and see if there is any
okay.
questions. Because no, I don't remember what I was talking about. No, yeah, I remember. It was about the kids and having fun. And the kids are, yeah, just to close this, the kids are always happy. I don't, I still have to see a child which is not happy 99% of the time. And this is amazing. And we have to respect that and to protect that as much as we can, and maybe bring something of that out again to our lives. And this is the gift
Exactly.
from our children and from the children that we have in our surrounding, that we can learn from them to be fun again and to do their work. Because yeah, one more thing which is very funny. My son, when he's building his Lego, yesterday he was building his Lego, and he said in Italian, "Papà, lasciami stare che sto lavorando," which is, "Dad, stop bothering me. I'm working." And then
Excellent.
I say,
Excellent.
"Oh yeah, exactly. This is what's for you. It's play is work for the kids." And we have to respect that. And if they say, "Oh, Dad, I'm playing," this means I'm doing my important work. I'm learning how to interact with the Lego, which will give me creativity and many things in the future. So we have to respect and support that. And of course, sometimes you have to say, "Okay, 5 more minutes, and then let's go."
That's our role as well. But I so agree with you. Um, Years ago, I really noticed that I just wasn't not playing enough anymore. I was just being serious, and I was like, "Oh, you're playing and all the toys everywhere, etc." And I was like, "I don't want to be like this. Gosh, what has happened with me? Why am I no longer fun enough? I'm just thinking of things to
Yes.
be done, and I
Yeah.
don't want just to be annoying." And so that's where I really try to change. And as you said in the beginning as well, my kids also have learned me so much. It's
Mm.
sometimes it's very tiring, of course, but yeah,
They have learned me a lot. And now I like we are crazy together. And they tell me, "Oh, Mom, you're so crazy." And then, yes, I'm sorry. That's better than being too serious every time.
Absolutely. Absolutely, Jacqueline. 100%. Yeah. Let's check the chat if we
Yep.
still have. Let me check. Yeah, it looks like it's still running, but whatever. We will check again. Maybe someone said something in the chat. Let me refresh. So we have still a few minutes to answer any question that you might have, because we could go on for hours.
Yes, that's quite possible.
Yeah. So let's see. We have here from the beginning. Hello from Brazil, Eduardo.
Wow.
Hi, hello everyone. Ernest. Hello, people from the earth. Good one. Chidiebube. I confirm, Jan. Hello, Ernest. Very interesting webinar. Very exciting topic of discussing education. Yeah, Deborah. Agree on the point of trust. The spark. Yeah, you see, people love the spark metaphor. Yeah, and there's a point here which makes Deborah. He said, I totally agree. It is about trust. I would add confidence. This is
Yeah,
interesting.
yeah, very
What's
much
your
linked.
view? What's your view on this?
Um, yes, I agree with Deborah. Trust goes with confidence because if I have trust in a person, I'm confident that I can speak up. It's like in having trust in life. If I have trust in life, then I'm confident and then I dare to get out of this comfort zone. That will help me grow. That will help me meet other people. That will make me help speak to that awful person on accountability department, but I really need to speak to this person. Actually, it turns out we have common hobbies or something like that. And wow, best thing ever to have discussion with that. Yes, yes, I very much. And I think often we are today in a world where we don't have trust and we don't have confidence. And we should build that again. Because like the kids are not worried in a way, or most of the kids. Huh? My kids maybe grow up in a very comfortable zone, but they're not worried about their future. They will manage. That's how they speak about it, and they're not afraid to do things. And so yes, they're confident. So yeah, very good point, Deborah. Yeah.
Absolutely. And I love what you say about the kids. And also, I would say that maybe you can have confidence if you see someone doing these things. If you see someone that says, okay, I had to make a mistake and
Mm-hmm.
nothing happens and they don't get punished and they say, okay, so I can do it also. And I have confidence because I know that if I do something wrong or I don't ace it at the first, nothing will happen and they will not judge me and they will not punish me. And at the same time, maybe I can have confidence if someone sees me, as you said in the beginning. If I feel seen, I will have confidence to show something more about me and to dare a little bit. It's something that maybe comes from the inside, but at the same time comes from the environment.
Comes from the environment, yes. It's like in agile way of working where it's more officially allowed to make mistakes because you
Yeah.
do a minimum viable project, you do test and learn. I was trained for design thinking, and in design thinking you need also to think out of the box. And to do that, you need to be in an environment where you're okay to make errors. And it's only when you try to make those errors, at least you try something else. If not, it's like the fixed mindset with a growth mindset. A fixed mindset, you don't dare to do it other way. So you will not make mistakes because that's not how we do it, okay? And in a growth mindset, you are encouraged in a way to try and it's accepted that you can make mistakes because if you make little steps, your mistakes will be little as well. So it will not be all of the sudden millions of dollars that you throw out. And that's also what is important, I think. Try to work as a team because when you work as a team, you don't feel less pressure on your shoulders saying, okay, if I make a mistake, oh my God, it will be just me. No, if you do it with a team, it's much better. I have one of my cards over behind it. It's like teamwork makes the dream work. I think it's too somber because we finally have sun over in the suburbs of Paris, so I needed to close down the window. But I think it's important as well to work as a team. And then as a team, you encourage each other and you're okay to make little steps. And then it's easier to share the pressure when there's errors, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. And I would also add that working as a team does not mean that we're not accountable for a part of the
Yeah.
work. It means that the team supports us You know what you have to do. You know what's your role. You can communicate, and you can have also a healthy conflict with your teammates when it's the moment, because conflict makes us grow and solve the problems. And actually, this is one of the part that I love most, when we have a good debate and we say, okay, yeah, because it's like you see that you are holding each other accountable, and you say, okay, no, I don't like this. That's not how I see it. But then you respect each other, because I say, okay, this is how you see it. And I quiet and I listen to the other person, but not with thinking about, okay, now I'm going to reply with that. And no, try to listen what's in his or her head. And then it's what things work and we have fun. And I remember that we had a meeting that I have clearly when we have some, let's say, difference of positions. And when we acknowledge that and we say, okay, now we are going to talk 1 hour about why are we doing this, what are we going to do, and we are not talking about action, as you said in the first part, 55 minutes discussing about the problem and then 5 minutes into action. And it's amazing, because when you do that, it's like, okay, you get out all the pressure because you have the opportunity to express yourself. You feel heard, but then you say, okay, now we have to do something. Let's go. We cannot stay 3 hours debating. We need to go to action.
At the end, you will need to, yeah. No, and that's so true. It reminds me as well of like quite some years ago, I had worked on a digitization project, and I had someone who was completely different from me, and I needed to work with this person. And in the beginning was okay, but then at one moment we were not in line, but no one dared to speak up. So there came this weird situation. And at the
Yeah.
moment I went to conflict, I said, okay, we need to speak up. So we went, both of us. We had quite some temper and we really conflicted. Just the two of us in a room. There was no outside people, etc. So it was comfortable in a way. And gosh, how that did lots of good. It was like thunder. And at the end, and the sky was blue again. And since then, we have been working so well together. And yeah, I think that's very important, to dare also to make conflict if it's necessary, but in a respectful way. And
Yes,
listen, as you say, listen to someone.
exactly. And also I'm sure that this person now trusts that
Yeah,
when you have something that you don't agree, you will say that. And you will not go around her back and speak, oh, I don't like this, is crazy. And because now you have the experience that you did it, you resolved the conflict, you had each one their own voice, and now you trust more each other because of that.
yeah. And one thing I want to point out, because we live in a very technological, tool-oriented world.
Mm.
But all those things, all those tools, etc., are interesting. For me, they are there to help us. But our relationships between humans, for me, they are essential. I mean, without us connecting, creating links, and etc., and dare to speak up, dare to create trust, dare to spark, those tools that we have around us, for me, they're not of any use.
Yeah.
So I've always lived in quite a tech world, and I'm definitely not against tech, but it's just always sometimes we need to reposition the place of technology and tools and the place of humans. And especially when we speak more about artificial intelligence, I think it's important to understand what we can bring as well, and that we dare to create those connections, because they are essential from my point of view.
Personally. So it's so challenging and it's so tempting just to go into the tool and say, okay, I have this perfect tool to do this and then you forget about it. But you said that in the beginning of the conversation, when you talk about change management, you didn't talk about techniques or processes. You said people don't speak.
Yeah,
That's one of the reason projects don't work. It's not that the technology is not working. Of course, you have to have a good technology, but we take it for granted, perhaps. Then the challenge
sometimes
is
as well. Yeah.
make the people talk and relate as humans. Yeah.
It's like the coaching. There's a type of coaching that I'm finalizing now. It's around the Obeya principle, and it's also linked to my work.
Yeah.
So we have this Obeya room in a way, but the Obeya room itself will not be enough. It's meet all together in that room, have the discussion, dare to speak up, exchange and discuss about, okay, where we are in a planning, what are problems that we encounter, how are we going to solve those problems together and have accountability. And that's all about humans. And yes, we can have that in a digital way or in a paper way as a tool around us, but it's humans still who will need to connect and to work throughout this whole process. And that's why it's still so important. And I think that's something that for me is very motivating. I like to use the tools, but it's around the rituals, around the way of working that we will be able to build a company or a project or wow future product for tomorrow that will really make the difference and that will be useful.
Now that you mentioned that, and I see I'm conscious of the time, we still have a few minutes. I would love to hear, now that you're talking about the future of work and project, what's the thing that excites you the most at this moment and the project maybe that you want to share with the people who are hearing this and with me, of course. I'm curious.
Question: what's my project that I like most? I'm not afraid about artificial intelligence. I think it's really nice, and I really think that I would love that tomorrow we are able to build, or maybe start today, like Elon Musk. We can like him or we might not like him, but I like how he really goes to the future. And I think that maybe there have been things in previous civilizations that have been so far more advanced than we are today in a way. And maybe we can combine some different knowledge that we can have, combining our human brain, our psychological way of working, and our tools to build really something of technology where we can go much further and much quicker and make us all happy, I think, tomorrow. So it's maybe a bit vague, true, but I think that's really something like really combine our own intelligence with artificial intelligence to really create another way of working for tomorrow, I think. And that can be in line with the quality of our planet as well, because I think that's something that we need to work on as well.
I would love that. I love this. It's a generic vision, of course, but it's so broad.
It
Who
is.
is no one is able to see. I'm not able, definitely, to see more than I don't know if even 2 or 3 years. I have no idea. But yes, I also share the vision that with all this technology, all these things, maybe we can free ourselves from the thing we don't like or we don't want to do, and we can center on the things we enjoy and maybe have more fun and of course work a little bit, let's say work a little bit less, but it's not work, it's play more. It's do more of the thing we love, because then you will not feel like I'm working. You'll feel
No.
it's like my son. It's like, yeah, I'm building a Lego, yes, I'm doing important work and I'm having so much fun.
And you can ask your son what he would like to build, and maybe he has lots of imagination of something that we can build, and we as adults will say, oh no, that's not possible, that's too complicated. But no, maybe it's not complicated because they all still have the ideas. And then with technology, we might be able to build those things from tomorrow that make a child happy, and maybe that will do a whole lot of good for adults as well. I think we should not limit ourselves always of things that are possible. Like, I'm not science fiction guru, but I think in science fiction, there are a lot of things that are very creative and very positive as well. Often we focus on what's negative, but I think there's a lot of things that we can build also that are very positive, and not just to work less, but to use ourselves in another way. You know, we can unite with technology, with artificial intelligence and us. And I think we can create lots of good synergies.
Yeah, exactly. And when you say work less, I would also add maybe don't do the same thing all day. We can mix and combine. And when I always think about, imagine that we are working, whatever, 8, 10, 12, 6 hour, whatever it is. The next hour always has a marginal return lower than the first one. So my vision would be, how can we bring together all these things? We can work in one domain, work in another, and combine all of this, and then you get the maximum return from all of this, and you can combine all of this together and create something. And this is also very vague, of course. I have no idea what it is.
No, but I fully agree. I feel what you say. I mean, like, it creates connection between those things as well. It's like when there have been very great innovations of combining different domains of activities where people would say, no, that's not possible. But it is possible, because that's
Yeah,
where it's really creates. And that's where you create, like, once again, I say, a synergy. And you need those people to spark, to dare to think, hey, maybe I can combine this with that. And that's something like I have, I take magic courses. So I need to really think out of the box. It's quite difficult sometimes for me because I really need to switch. But it's so interesting because all of a sudden with something very simple, my teacher, he shows me like very interesting magical tricks. And I'm like, yes, that's great. And then I get this spark and I connect different parts of my brain and like, oh, but you can do that and that. And then I think maybe something all of a sudden of something for work or something related to kids or whatever, you know? And that's what we need.
Yeah.
That's why we humans are very powerful, I think.
You said it. I would, of course, I would want this is a wonderful definition. And I'm also conscious that now we have 5 more minutes. I would love to hear, as a one of final question, what is something that you want to share perhaps with the people, or let's say, how can people reach out to you, and anything that you want to share and invite?
So there's a podcast that I'm listening to often, and he says at the end, he said, what would you want to open the door to, and what do you want to close the door to? It's a French podcast. It's called VLAN, VLAN, for the French, if there's any French-speaking people listening. And so I would like to open, for example, in the door to love more. Okay, it may sound very weird, etc. And I know there's a lot of people who are still hesitating, but just even if you're in the toilet, just love, okay, because it will help you do good. So that's something I would like you to take with you. Even though my whole life is definitely not turned about laughter yoga, but try to love everyone. Try to love some more. And how to reach me, of course, there's LinkedIn. You can find me without any problem on LinkedIn. I think that's maybe the most easiest way, because that's where I'm most reactive. I do have a website still for my other activity, which is called Precious Prana. But that's more if you want to share on well-being activities and energy activities. But I think the easiest way would be LinkedIn. And I will be happy to meet new people, discuss with you. I'm curious, so would love to hear from you.
Absolutely. And of course, as we said, thank you, Jacqueline. And we could go on and on. You mentioned the energy. Maybe we could do another whole conversation about energy, because we didn't touch the topic. And I feel that there is some like a gold mine in there. But, okay. So let's check one more last time, if you want, if you have some messages or you don't miss anything. And if there are something that we missed, we will answer, of course, after. Okay, I think we have everything. I hope there's still the connection is live.
You're still there. I don't have any message. Your connection is weak.
I hope so. If you are still there, if everything is still working, thank you again. First of all, to the people who connected, who enjoyed, I think, as much as I did, your energy, your enthusiasm, your optimism. And I think we need more of this. We need much more of this, and we can bring it. It's so easy. You just gave us an example of how easy it is to bring this kind of energy in our life. Thank you.
It was a real pleasure, Roberto, and thank you for everyone who was there to join. And if I managed to give you some energy and to spark or give you some sunlight, then my day is really perfect. Thank you very much for inviting me.
And you can open the window if you want to the end. So you mentioned that you show us the light. Yeah.
Ta-da! Woo! There is sun in Paris. It's been raining for days. It's unbelievable. So yeah, a lot of sun.
Okay, it has been so much fun. Thank you again.
It was.
Thank you, everyone. And
thank you.
See you next time. See you soon.
Yeah, see you soon. Bye-bye, everyone. Have a good afternoon and have a good day.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Okay, now we are still live.
Okay, I will not touch anything.
We can tell a joke. Oh, yeah, maybe the connection will go off again.